Hello again. It's about interpreting again. Of course, as I said before, that you are actually needing to make easier for two people or two entities to communicate with each other. So it's an act of communication, really, which is an interactivity. Because what happens is that these verbal words that are being given from one person to another, they need to get a reaction from the other person. So if there is no reaction going on, then that is a problem, especially if you are doing what's called consecutive, which means that you are sitting there not actually making them each other understand each other and communicate with each other. Now, what is so good about interpreting is that once you need to you find interpreters are the ones who speak really good English. Their English is very good. And then how do they reach to that point? Of course, because of training, because if they are listening to so many videos, that's all. It's not really something that is impossible to do. So once you get used to listening every day to a video, every day you watch a video, every day you watch a video. So for example, you watch a video today, tomorrow you watch the same video or a different video. You don't have to listen to the same video. Also, if you don't understand everything, you may not understand everything because you don't know all the vocabulary. So what you need to do is you listen to another video and trying to understand the ideas from these videos. It's like when you go into a class and the teacher is talking about some concept and you are not understanding all the words, but you understand some of the words. So you need to start understanding and you try to do your best to understand. So the idea is not to actually check every single word that's being said, what it means, even though this is also important. But it's more important to get the idea itself, what's being said, is the main issue here in interpreting. And once you improve your listening skills, then your English gets better. So for example, if somebody is attending a class in interpreting and graduating from that class or passing that class, that means their English is got better, definitely. Now, of course, for listening skills, which I said to you before about what's the first step, the first step is to be a good listener. And being a good listener means you listen to every single word being said. And as I said before, if somebody said 30 or 13, sugar or figure, death or deaf, deaf or deaf. So you need to be a good listener. And this listening skill is extremely important because based on that, you will understand what the idea is. If you hear something, mishear something, you don't understand, so don't interpret, don't say, because it's not your ideas being transferred from one person to another person. It's somebody else's ideas. Here is the skill of looking at this person who's speaking and getting the ideas from them, what they are trying to say, and then explaining to them, to the other party. So this is what happened to me, myself, actually, when my mother, who actually was illiterate, okay, and she was in UK for visiting me, and she doesn't understand, she can't write Arabic. Even in Arabic, she is not a good writer. She can't write, she can't recognize even the letters in Arabic. But she can speak Arabic, of course. That's the mother tongue, and as I said before, that it's very important to interpret into your mother tongue because it's easier to get the words jumping in your head and you get the equivalents very easily. What's happened is with my mother, who doesn't even know how to write Arabic, wanted to buy a few things from the shop. So when I went with her, she was saying things and I was interpreting what she's saying to the shopkeeper, to the salesman. It was clothes. She, whatever she's saying, I'm telling him. And he is answering me. He's telling me what he's telling me, I'm telling her. So there's no, I don't need to be an expert in interpreting to know what to say to my mom. And my mom is actually waiting for the answer to her question. So if I give her a very wrong answer, she's going to be very surprised, even though she's illiterate in the skill of the languages, as it were, of the English language, of course. So she doesn't know, but she does understand if I give her a message from what the salesman has said, and if I say it wrongly, she will know. She will know that it is wrong. I mean, she would say, I've asked you this, and he's not answering me, and it was a salesman, he's male. He was not answering me. You know, I'm asking a certain question. So she's going to actually ask me, why did you not tell him the question I asked you? So, you know, I mean, this is really the important thing, is to be able to communicate, make the two parties communicate easily and understand each other and pass the message across. It's like taking the football from one side and give it to the other side, the same football, but in a different language, as it were. So you are trying to do that, that's all. As simple as that. Of course, some people get a little bit nervous first time because they've never done it before, but that's quite normal. You know, you have to do it first time. But once you do it first time, second time, it becomes natural. It becomes easy to actually interpret. I remember once there was a guy who was trying to buy some Mercedes cars, and I was interpreting for him, and he was eating grapes and, you know, giving prices to his friend. To the salesman, and for half an hour he was just saying the same price. He says 15,000 for 3 cars, 15,000. He said that for 20 minutes, okay, and the other guy is saying that. So while he was repeating himself, I said to the guy, I said, look, you're repeating yourself. Can you change? He says, no, just interpret what I'm saying. Say to him 15,000. So I turned down and said 15,000. So anytime he's repeating that. And the other guy says, no, I will not agree to a 15,000 price. So you see, they were communicating with each other. Even though he's repeating himself, the guy who is buying, I was to repeat whatever they're saying. So that's really the idea, is the idea of repeating what other people are saying without any hesitation, of course, because if the guy is convinced, this is persuasion here, he's trying to persuade the salesman, okay, to sell him the cars for a certain price that he wants, and the salesman wants a certain price. So they were negotiating with each other, and I'm in the middle. And I did say to him, "You are repeating yourself." He said, "I don't care. Just say what I'm saying." So I was saying what he's saying. So that's really what you do when you are interpreting. So there's no need to be nervous about it. But what you need to know is that you need to hear the guy what he's saying clearly, and make sure that you understand he said 15,000 and not 50,000 for the price of these cars. Because, of course, if he says 50, that is 50, and not 15, then, of course, the salesman will be very happy if it's 50,000, you know. I mean, that is a kind of miscommunication going on, and because of you, because you misheard the word 50 instead of 15. That's as simple as that. So you see, you have to be a good listener when you are listening to the language, to the input that's coming into your ear. As I said, there is a span going on from the ear to the voice. So it's all called ear-voice span, which is the stretch of when you hear something and how you understand it, and then how you produce it, you output it. That's called input and output in interpreting. So you need to improve your listening skills, and improving listening skills means watching lots of videos. Of course, you can, in general terms, you can watch any video you want, but if you are going to a conference, a specific conference, it's better to find videos where there's somebody who's speaking in front of camera. Very important, because you can see their faces and see their reactions and their pronunciations and things like that, because you can recognize some of the letters or some of the words they are saying. And of course, there's no spelling issue here, that you're going to make a mistake in spelling, but there is a mistake in pronunciation. So that's what interpreting is about, is to improve your pronunciation skills. So students who attend courses in interpreting are good speakers of English, by the way. They become good speakers of English. And that is I am very proud to say this, because I noticed that in all the courses that are requiring audiovisual material, that the students improve their English skills quite high in terms of spelling, in terms of speaking, in terms of listening. They improve their way of that. And also, there are words that they know, in written form, but they don't know them how they are pronounced. And they have improved them via audiovisual material. So listening to videos is very, very important. When you listen to these videos, of course, it's better to, if you are going to a conference, or you're going to interpret, for example, is to watch videos that are related to that area, you know? It's better to listen to videos relating to the conference itself. Maybe there are other conferences before it which were recorded already and they are on YouTube. So why not go and get them and listen to them and listen to what they say? And you can listen to the same material in both languages by different people who are speaking about the same topic. What is so good about this is that when you are listening to them in English, you listen to all these terminology in English that they are using. So you learn these terms and you write them down, and then you go and search what they mean, because they are specialized terms. And then also in the Arabic videos that you watch, which are specialized in that area as well, you listen to their videos and also see what their terminology they are using. I remember once I was doing finance on one of the channels, I think it's Al Jazeera or Al Arabiya, NBC, and then it was about business. And I had to actually watch videos that are about business in both English and Arabic, and then compare the words and then compare the terminology used, because sometimes they use in English certain terminology which they do not use in Arabic, or they use an equivalent to them and a specific equivalent to them which is very official. So it's good to watch videos that are in the same, about the same topic, but by two different people who are speaking two different languages. In other words, watch a video which is in English by an English expert who speaks about that conference or that particular area of field, like business. And then you go to another video where there's another guy who is actually speaking about the same area, the same topic, the same subject matter, but in Arabic. So you learn from them some Arabic terminology they are using. Okay, some of them you might actually find that they are using some terminology which you don't need even to research now or search for, because already you got the English and now you got the Arabic of them already from another video. Of course, I'm talking about videos that are done by experts in the area. I'm not talking about videos that are, you know, talked about by peoples in the street. We want some experts who are specialized in the area, because you're dealing with the experts, and as an interpreter, you become like one. You become like an expert in the area, in a way. So that's the same when you are translating medical, for example. You become expert in medical field in the terms of terminology. You understand some of the ideas, the concepts, some of the illnesses, how they work, and some of the medicines, what's their effects, what's their symptoms. So you become almost knowledgeable in some areas in that field. The same is if you are doing interpreting, if you're doing in business, you become expert to an extent in the terminology used in the business field and what these terms mean. Not only just learning the term, but understanding. This is very important, concepts, understanding the concepts. I remember Danica Selezgovich said, before I must understand before I interpret. So that means you have to understand what you are interpreting. You have to understand, not only listen. You have to listen and then understand, comprehend in your head. What does that mean? What does that mean? Some students tend to actually, when they are translating even written translations, they tend to not realize they don't understand. They just copy words, what they mean in the dictionary, and that's it. They don't understand what they are writing. You need to understand the concept, whether you are a translator or interpreter. And that's what you are. What is the second step? So the first step is to be a good listener, to identify every single word that's being said by the speaker. Okay? Second point is to understand what you are listening to. Not only just listen to them, but understand them. Not as languages, but also understand in order to communicate. This is really the heart of what you are passing the message across. When you're passing the message across, to understand very well. You have to really understand very well what the person is saying. And if you don't understand something, even very little thing, if they are available in front of you, they are interpreting, you ask them, say, oh, look, sorry, I don't understand what you said. you can always turn to the second party and say, look, I didn't understand what they're saying. I want to clarify a point. So then you turn to the other party and say, look, could you please tell me what do you mean by this term? Or what do you mean by this, what you just said? So they tell you so that you understand before you can move on to interpret. Okay? That is really very, very important, understanding what the person is saying. So that this idea they are saying, you need to make sure that you put it across clearly, precisely, and very, very important, no missing elements from it. So you do need to know the knowledge in that area in a way to understand. Because even if you're doing in engineering, for example, if you're translating a manual about a car, okay, car engine, you need to understand how the engine works when you are translating. You cannot just copy just words, what they mean, from the dictionary and not understanding their dimension. What do they mean? The meaning, the sense. And that's what's important. You need to make sense of what you're understanding from when you are listening before you start speaking. When you are speaking, I just want to say something about this. This is Daniel, one of my colleagues, who has taught this called a pencil exercise, where you put your, you bring a text and you read it while you have your pencil in your mouth like this, and you start reading the text. You start reading the text. You read the text throughout, and you record it in order to improve your pronunciation, and this is something we will talk about in another video. But I hope now you understand that there is the first step, good listening, good understanding. You have to understand what you are listening to. And you don't pretend to understand. If you don't understand anything, don't interpret. Never interpret something you don't understand, because you will be blamed for something you translated or interpreted wrongly. They would say, it's the interpreters wrong. They are wrong. I remember in one case, a Russian interpreter, the English guy was saying they threw the baby with a bath water, which is an expression in English, which means they threw the whole thing away. She was so upset because it's a baby and being thrown with the water, bath water. She did not interpret that, but of course she didn't understand that it was just an expression in English, which is not. She didn't understand it, so she didn't interpret it, and she didn't interpret that. And also she has an attitude. I mean, how cruel you are to actually throw the baby with the baby water or the bath water with the baby. So that was very upsetting for her. Also, another occasion where there was a throwing the shoe at George Bush at one time when he was in Iraq. When they threw the shoe at him, and he says, the guy who threw he's a press guy, he's a journalist, he says, you dog, and he threw at him the shoe. And of course, it doesn't mean anything to George Bush what the shoe is about, because if it was a tomato or an egg, maybe he would know that it is degrading and that disrespectful towards the president by throwing the shoe. But in fact, he looked at the shoe. This is George Bush looking, and he says it's size 10. It's big. It's too big for him, perhaps. He took it as a joke. But in fact, the other guy, he's trying to say, you dog. Of course, the word dog, the concept of dog in the Western culture, it means it's a kind person, friendly, not vicious, and so on. But in the Arab culture, dog means that it's in one of the meanings of it, it means you are dirty, you are unkind, you are vicious, you are so on. So this is the kind of concepts that's been understood in the other language, in the Arabic language. So when he threw that shoe, it is very degrading in the culture of the Arab language, and that was not conveyed properly in the target language. And that is really an issue of understanding between the two parties, because you've got two cultures which are actually communicating. So this is another element of misunderstanding, which the interpreter needs to be aware of and needs to show that. Because, of course, if he says, you dog, it doesn't mean anything. He should say, you animal, or you beast, you are a beast, and you are an animal, and that is very a little bit more degrading than just saying you are a dog. So you see, this is a choice of words that you are saying, and you're trying to facilitate the communication between the two groups so that the message across is done correctly and to the best of your ability without interfering in the actual message itself, and you are transferring it as faithfully and as accurately as possible.